All right, I've been joined now with Coach Byron Smith, head basketball coach for the Prairie View A&M University Panthers. Coach, let me say thank you, first of all, for taking time to sit with us and discuss. It's always good to be in your company. You're a good guy and good coach, and I even got you on my friends list, man. So welcome to another sit down here at the Open Mic.
Appreciate you having me, Mike.
All right. Well, look, Coach, you're in full gear right now. Everything is moving forward. Mm-hmm. You've had some minor success in the beginning of the new season. Some of the success, if we were to be, as the kids say, keeping it 100, you're not where you want to be. You're a little bit ahead of what you used to be. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. And if we were to be honest, it's probably right where you're heading to be. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So with the whole journey and process of where everything has started from thus to now, mm-hmm. how are you analyzing your situation?
You know what? I'm cautiously optimistic. Again, we have a talented bunch, but a lot of new players, here. And I just think over the last probably 7 to 10 days, we finally are kind of at ease and in a good place because we think that everyone is kind of starting to buy in to what we're selling and what we have been selling. And it's, probably by my own admission, and I probably made a mistake in that I thought it would come a lot faster because we attacked, preseason, and we got started really, really early and, established a tremendous work ethic, and the guys worked so hard in preseason. So I kind of thought success would come a little quicker, and I think I may have put some pressure on our players to perform better earlier. And it's a process, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. But sometimes when you slam and you got long legs, you think you're supposed to get there fast, but at the end of the day, it's a marathon. So I feel over the last 7 to 10 days, our coaching staff feels, and by the way we've performed, we've come up, on the short end of the stick. We feel really good about where we're going and where we are right now, and we still think we have potential to do some really big things this year.
Now, you just hit on something that I think is critical. You said you may have put pressure on them by setting certain expectations, mm-hmm. which in really hindsight thinking is a good thing. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have expectations, you don't have measuring marks of getting better. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, understanding, hey, I think I should have been here mm-hmm. by this point. Mm-hmm. When we're writing out our game plans mm-hmm. and our future goals, mm-hmm. it's always easy because we're writing them out on paper. Mm-hmm. I was taught that you need to write this stuff in pencil. Mm-hmm. So in case you have to erase some things and make some adjustments right. along the way, right. you're still on course, mm-hmm. but it might not be at the speed that you were expecting. Absolutely. Are you finding yourself that you're using your eraser a little bit these days?
Absolutely. And most of the adjustments that we're having to make it stems with our personnel. It's you recruit a bunch of junior college kids. Sometimes it's hit and miss. Fortunately, I think it's been a little bit of a miss, but I think I think in the end, I think it's going to be all hit with all of our guys, coming in. So, we've had to, scale some things back and deal with some guys in a different way. Sometimes, the approach, that you use. I'm an old school guy, but I have a very, old school approach as well. And, sometimes it takes these kids a little bit of a while to get adjusted. But, at the end of the day, kids don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And I think that they do understand that we do care about them. Discipline is not the enemy of enthusiasm. We're very, very hard on them, very tough on them about the small things, attention to detail. And we always talk about that. The small things add up, So, we have had to make some adjustments in terms of playing guys a little bit differently, treating guys, all, fair, and equal, but not always the same. And some guys get a little bit more rope. Obviously, with losing Sue Williams, changes a lot of things, and we've had to have some guys to play a different role now. So, we've had to make some changes, and not afraid to do that. The great Herm Edwards, who I respect a lot, the old NFL coach, says that any plan that can't change is a bad plan. So we have changed, and not to say we won't change again. Whatever we need to do to put Prairie View in the best position to be successful, that's what we're going to do.
Well, a lot of people, when they're sitting on the sidelines, whether it's side court, whether it's sideline of a football game or sideline or in the stands of a baseball event, people think it's about X's and O's, and that's all that it's about.
Right.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're learning firsthand that it's more than just X's and O's, because sometimes you're dealing with guys that we forget, especially on a high school or collegiate level. These are young men still developing.
Absolutely.
And things that you and I might look like and say, man, that's nothing, but it's major to them. You know, an example, breaking up with a girlfriend. Well, if this has been your only girlfriend that you've had for 2 or 3 years of your young life, and you all part ways, you go like, man, please. But for a 45, 50-year-old, you like, brother, do you realize how many other fish are out here in this sea? You have to sometimes slow down, and in some cases hit reverse to go back to where they are. Because I think what happens, the difference between a good coach from becoming a great coach is that he assumes that his players should always be. For example, when you talk about junior college guys transferring over, you saying, okay, this guy's had success on the JUCO level, so I shouldn't have to have much time trying to coach him up, where I can concentrate on the freshman or the sophomore that's already in my system. So then you say, why aren't you getting it like this? He said, well, I've always done it like this. So there's a contrasting thing there. And I tell people, forget about being a winner. You want to develop to become a champion. And being a champion, you have to make adjustments. What worked yesterday might not work today.
Absolutely. And you said a mouthful, but I agree. I think there's a huge misconception about the X's and O's. I'm going to touch on that. And sometimes, I won't say overrated, but that can be kind of overstated sometimes about the X's and O's. This deal is about managing people and, learning as much as you can about your team, because I think that gives you a much better chance, an opportunity to be able to coach them the best that you can. So, and sometimes you have to, do different things to kind of penetrate the inner self, to be able to find out, well, what buttons do I need to push to be able to get this young man to play at a maximum level. And again, they all come in, when you ask them the question, what do you want to be? Well, I want to be successful. So, Prairie View hasn't really won anything significant in men's basketball for 18, 19 years now. So, you can be a part of, starting establishing your legacy, and, you could be like a rock star here on campus in basketball. The first team to do something. I say, is that what you want to do? And all of them will tell you, yep, I just want to be successful. I want to come and get my education. I want to be the best basketball player I can be, and be the best, teammate I can be, and win championships. They all tell you that. And it gets to be kind of cliche. But it's really for us about finding out what we need to do to be able to put them in the best possible position. So again, I was a bit premature thinking things would happen a lot faster, but that's just kind of how I am, a positive person. I think it's no secret. We work pretty hard. We get after it, and we always say that our practice should be the toughest basketball environment that you guys will encounter on the season. We go in and play games, and we're like, okay, man, this is nothing like practice. We should be okay. So that's kind of how we structure it. But, just managing these young players and getting them to, realize what's at stake. It's not pressure. Mike, we don't talk about winning and losing. Like I say, that puts a lot of added pressure on them. We just talking about, responsibility and accountability, and doing your job each and every day. And, winning and losing kind of takes care of itself. So we try to make it simple for them, so there's not pressure. There are expectations, but there's no pressure. And I think those are two totally different things. To me, pressure is, like I always say, it's brain surgery, or, being in an operating room. You miss you lose a game, you got the next one coming up. You don't do the right thing, you lose a patient. You can't just move on to the next one. This is life, so that's pressure. But what we do is a fun deal. But again, I'm very optimistic, Mike, to really get to the bottom of it. I'm really optimistic about what we can do, and I just think the Kansas State game and the Texas State game, even though we came up on the short end of the stick, it felt different. It looked different. I'm not into moral victories. I'm not gonna ever, hey man, we almost did it. Oh man, we lost by this minute. Nah, that's a loser's mentality. I'm not like that. You win or you lose. But I think, as you pointed out today, which I thought was a great point, when you do your best, you never lose. And these guys have been, really executing at a high level. And I think we're gonna continue. I don't think it's gonna be a drop off. That's the thing that we're trying to, even in not winning, complacency setting in with, losing by 5 or 6 points or whatever. No, we want to have carryover, and that's been the one weakness, I think, since I've been here as an assistant and now being the head coach, is that we'd have a good performance one game, but it wouldn't carry over to the next game. It would be two totally different teams, and that's probably my greatest challenge right now, to make sure that you see consistency, that Prairie View Nation sees consistency night in and night out, that there's not a drop off. You're not always going to play, well, but you can always play hard. And those are the things that we pride our team off of, is being intense and being prepared and playing very, very hard. So you'll see that night in and night out. That's what my responsibility, to make sure that we do that night in and night out. And I think we will.
Well, you said something about simplifying things, and I developed, I guess this motto, man, some years ago, and I apply it in my everyday life, and it can fit just about anything. And you've probably heard me say this before, but you love what you do, simplify what you do, then master what you do. When you do that, you're breaking down, and I don't care whether it's turning a light off and on, you break that down to the simplest form. You really love doing what you're doing. That shows up. If a guy's coming in, I don't know anybody that like doing suicides.
No.
I don't know anybody that like getting up at 4:30 to be at practice at 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. I don't know anybody that will starve themselves for the sake of being in the best possible condition that they can be in. Right. So the love is there. So are you committed enough to, let's simplify this thing, to when you simplify that it becomes an art of mastery when someone is watching you at your skill level? I know the NBA, guys see the NBA, and I'm not an NBA fan by any stretch of the imagination. I think the NBA has destroyed a lot of young basketball players, but I digress talking about that. But when you see these guys in the NBA nailing three-pointers like they're free throws, they're hitting shot after shot after shot. Well, that young mind is just seeing part of the process of how they got there. They're not seeing the countless hours of shots, the countless attempts of a shot from a certain part of the floor. All they say, man, this dude was firing it up. Bam, he firing up. So I'm going to go do the same thing. I'm going to fire it up. But they don't understand the process that it took to make it as simple as it is. It's not. The reason anytime a person has professional in front of whatever they do is because they've mastered whatever it is. Now they command the highest stakes possible for whatever that field is. And a lot of people miss that mark. You and I are sitting here having a conversation right now, and people like, oh, I could do that. But when they get there, they be like, from both sides. From both sides. But here is something, when it's there and the people see that you're passionate about what you do, they look at a Byron Smith, they say, this man loves basketball. They watch you coach. This man is intense in his coaching. Then they'll start digging back. Well, Byron Scott, I'm sorry, I'll call him, boy, I'm putting you in good company, right? But Byron Smith, has a state record in Louisiana, okay, but they don't know that Byron Smith almost didn't play basketball.
Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? They don't know that Byron Smith would have been the GOAT of Northern Louisiana, and GOAT, for those who don't understand what GOAT is, the greatest of all time on the court and in the alleyways, but not able to premiere for the University of Houston. And I know I'm talking a little bit longer than what I should be, but these are things that I think that people miss when they look out on the floor and they just think, oh, it's about putting on a suit, wearing some expensive shoes, pacing up and down the court, hollering, getting a check every now and then. But you are the field general for young men who come into you with dreams and visions. Every kid wants to go to the NBA.
Absolutely.
They even look at going overseas as a failure because they don't understand. If somebody is willing to pay you for a kid's game, you have skill.
Absolutely.
You are a professional, and you need to understand and embrace that. Now, I know I just gave you a whole lot, but I'm gonna let you regurgitate some of that back.
Well, it's true. And everything that you said. From people look at the destination, and they sometimes ignore the journey. Me personally, I think I've told you before, Mike, this is my divine assignment. This is what I know that, God has put me here to be able to do. And I enjoy. I don't look at it as work. And I really enjoy. And my thing is, I love challenges, and I constantly push myself to try to be at my best. How I am, as a coach, I think it's how most people should be. You are. You're excited. You are very intense, but you are showing you're wearing your passion. On your sleeve. You're wearing your passion. On your jacket. And things like that when you're out there, when you're on that sideline and things like that. So I like to. It's a great game. And most people who I've encountered at the highest level. They have a tremendous amount of passion, for it. They really love, the game, be it as playing, or coaching, things of that nature. And another thing you say, people sitting where you're sitting say, hey, I can do that. You know what I mean? But it's a pretty daunting task to be able to, have questions that are relevant questions to the situation that's going on, and even sitting, where I'm sitting, which is, not as difficult. I'm the interviewee, not the interviewer. Even having to be able to, listen to questions and have thought process about what you're trying to do, trying to get your point across, trying to sell yourself as a basketball person, trying to make what you're doing seem relevant to people, to people that come and watch, people that listen, on open mic, broadcast. A lot goes into it, and I also do agree, with what you're saying. I'm probably a little bit more of a fan of the NBA, than probably what you are, but I do think it has a negative vibe to it. And you're right, kids always talk about their position, and this is the one thing I think where the NBA really messes us up. When they look at a Kevin Durant and they see a guy that tall, and because he attempts a three-point shot, without even really looking into his game and studying his game and analyzing, oh man, he's a three. Everybody wants to be a three. Everybody wants to be a small forward. And guys like Kevin Durant and Rudy Gay and who else could I say? The Andrew Wiggins is the Kawhi Leonard, taller players who play with the basketball on the perimeter and shoot the basketball. That's what these guys, that's who they want to be. But I have news for them, and I always tell our guys that your position is determined by who you can defend. It's not what you do on the offensive side; it's what you do on the defensive side. So I talk to my kids all the time. I say, if you think you're a three, okay, a small four, you go into the NBA right now. They gave you a chance to go out and play a game you win a contest to go play in an NBA game. Who do you think you're going to be guarding? You're going to be guarding, and I asked this question, you're going to be guarding the Kobe Bryants, the Kevin Durants, the LeBron James, the Kawhi. These are the people that you have to defend. You understand what I'm saying? So, the NBA, it gives a lot of false, I won't say hope, but it's kind of very misleading in that, all of our kids will want to do what those NBA guys are doing. The game is totally different. The college game is totally different. It won't allow for you to do things that they're allowed to do in the NBA. You get three steps in the NBA. You get 2.5 in college. I mean, all this stuff kind of works against us as coaches when you're trying to coach. There are some things that I think are positive with the NBA game that I think can help with our kids, and that the pick and roll play is probably the thing that's probably the most beneficial, because they do execute it, on the offensive end the right way. And I think if guys are really watching it, how to defend it, because that's the number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 play in the NBA is pick and roll. Most of your plays are going to start and end in a pick and roll. So those are the positive things, but I just think it's far too often our kids are paying attention to the NBA game, and it can be very misleading. I agree with you a lot on that, Mike. I don't like it as much as I used to. The older I get, the less I like it, I think. But there is still some positives. It is still a good game, but our kids need to watch more college basketball than they need to be watching the NBA, for sure.
We're talking with Coach Byron Smith of the Prairie View A&M University Panthers. Of those that are listening, if you may notice, we're talking about the game of basketball, but not to the point of where we're zeroing in on players. Sometimes people need to know the man behind the title and understand what makes up this person that you see going up and down the court, and that's part of what we're doing. And I appreciate you doing this, Coach. Now, you have to encounter sometimes, and it's more or less was on the high school level than it would be on the collegiate level. But I can imagine it happened on the collegiate level because I've seen it and experienced it on certain deals. You get a young man on your squad, and this kid may have been a star where he came from. He gets to the next level, in your case now collegiately, and he's not getting as much playing time as he would like to get. And this is a personal chafe for me, any way you look at it. You get a phone call or an email these days, and now even a text from a parent with the question, why is my son not getting playing time? My son was the leading scorer when he left there. When you all recruited him, you all said that you were going to do this. But what they forget about little Joey is that Joey is not the only one that was recruited. And as my father always taught me, there's going to always be somebody just a little bit better than you, no matter how good you are. How do you deal with that? And I won't ask you, have you ever dealt with it? Because I pretty much know that, which is one of the reasons people ask me, Prince, why don't you coach? This is one of the reasons why I'm not coaching today, because I'm not going to deal with it. Right. How do you deal with that? You know what?
I deal with it by kind of not dealing with it. And, here's the deal that, we try to have a pact with our team. And I tell all our players that, I want each and every one of your parents, to be our sixth man, to support. I try to get to talk to all the parents, Mike, just as a fundamental rule, and I try to get them to understand who I am. And I always say, well, first and foremost, you need to understand I have 2 children of my own, and I'm not going to mistreat anyone's kid because I don't want someone to mistreat mine. So I want to establish that first and foremost, and I try to let them know as much about me and try to make them as familiar with me as possible. So once they kind of know who I am, then they'll have a better feel from me dealing with their kid. And if I have your kid's best interest, first of all, the brand, which is what I've taken an oath, and I tell every parent that that's going to always come first. The brand, Prairie View A&M is always going to come first, and we try to work, your son's best interest in with the brand, and we can do that if he's selfless and willing to sacrifice and willing to be a team person. I've had one encounter with a parent that kind of felt the way that how you just described it, and I didn't really address the situation. I just said, hey, I'm just going to act as if it didn't happen. They weren't really negative, but probably could have been a little bit more positive. And but the one thing I never would do, I would never penalize a kid for the parents being parents, because we are going to do that because we want our kids to be successful. And it's just like that old saying, every mom thinks her son and the 4 best players should start. You know that, Mike. And it's just the way that it is. That but I get it. This is a new generation. We're heavily impacted by the AAU syndrome, and I say AAU basketball is the only place where you can consistently play bad and not be taken out of the game. And it doesn't help us college coaches because I think we have probably the worst farm system of any of the sports today because AAU is not regulated, really, to be honest with you. I mean, there's no requirements. You have to take an online test of about 5 or 6 questions to be able to go out and coach AAU basketball. You don't have to get a certificate. You don't have to do an internship or anything like that. It's like almost being, like they say, coming to the church. Whosoever will, let them come. And so everyone's doing it. You know what I mean? And I look at it too, Mike, as a lot of AAU, and I used to do it, and I have a lot of friends that are in AAU, and I always say that it's a lot of frustrated athletes that didn't accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. So it's kind of like their last stand at making hearing their name in lights and things, or seeing their name in lights and things of that nature. But it's difficult. We get kids in all the time that have been allowed to be a certain way and play a certain way, and it works there, but it doesn't work for what we do and where we are. So to answer the question, our parents, for the most part, knock wood, have been very, very supportive. They may not always agree, may not always understand, but I think that they know that, and we're being very sincere when we say this, we care about each and every one of our kids, and we let them know that, from the very beginning. So they've been very, very supportive. Not to say that little Johnny's dad may not get mad tomorrow night when we play Louisiana Tech and may get a text message or a phone call, but I always tell our kids too, Mike, that I tell the individual young man that you and I will determine your playing time. And it's going to be determined in this gym. It's not going to be played out. It won't be an AAU influence or, hey, man, I'm trying to get this player off the AAU team that your dad's working with. We just try to stay away from that because I have the utmost respect for the game itself. I'm not going to cheat the game. I'm not going to put any kid's best interest ahead of the game. And I know this kind of sounds kind of harsh, but I'm not. His best interest may be, hey, I'm averaging 25 points, but you told me I was going to get 30, or my dad thinks I should get 30, or whatever. The game is bigger than all of us, and it's like we have it for a short amount of time. So I'm going to nurture it. I'm going to love it. I'm going to respect it. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to give it back the way that I got it.
Well, Coach, what people are forgetting, and I scratch my head at this. You're fussing at me about your child. You think I got an alt against your child when your child is determined whether my family eats or not.
Absolutely.
Yes. So do you think that if little Johnny, I don't know how, poor Johnny, if you're listening, we're sorry, but if little Johnny can help me ensure that my family continues to eat, little Johnny's going to be out there.
Absolutely.
If I got something against your son, he's not on my team.
Right.
Apparently, there's something I see in your son that can help enhance the team. It may be in a reduced role right now.
Right.
But just as I would tell my son, I'm sure you would tell your son, if you think you ought to be better, do better. If you want more playing time, work a little bit harder. If you don't like sitting on the bench, do what the coaches are requiring of you and work your way up. It's just like being on a job you don't like. You can fuss, I can't stand my job, I hate my job. Don't just quit your job if you don't have another job.
Right.
You don't like the job you own, work your way out of it.
Right.
What are you trying to say? If you focus on what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it, somebody's going to pay attention and say, I want that person
Absolutely.
on my team. That's how you work your way out of a bad situation. We're talking with Coach Byron Smith, head basketball coach of the Prairie View A&M University Panthers. Coach, I'm really enjoying this. I don't know about you, but I'm enjoying this. You made mention of your two sons, or two children, I'm sorry. A lot of people, they see the coach. They don't see that the coach is a husband, a father, a brother, a son. Introduce your family to Open Mic.
Well, I'm married. Been married 16 years. Melanie Evans Smith is my wife, and two children. Christopher, who's 13, Kayla, who's 12, boy and girl. avid sports fans. Neither of them are lovers of the game of basketball like I am. I don't know what happened there. Must have taken from that other side. But they don't get a chance to be seen as much. Obviously, I still reside in Houston, for school purposes and just, it's just, better situation that way, just family support and things like that. But they don't get a chance to be seen as much. But they do attend the games. They're very, very, very supportive. My children are good students, proud of that. And they are involved in a lot of sports, swimming and volleyball and track and just, you name it. They're involved. They're avid sports fans. But I think they probably went away from the game of basketball because they probably knew I'd be a very, very hard coach on them. And I think they wanted to keep our relationship a good one. So it's probably wise on their part not to do basketball because I could be a bit of a tyrant. But a supportive group, and always checking in with me to see how we did and not always around, being able to come to the games. Most of our games, obviously, on weeknights and with school and things like that, kind of tough for the kids to come out. But when they can, they do. So, bigger family, obviously, mother's here in Louisiana and had a chance to see her today. I think you did too. So that was a very exciting time for me. She's been very, very supportive and been a rock, all of my life and taught me most of the things that I know. So, I'm very proud and very happy of my mother and to be able to have her, still be around and still be supportive and always some words of wisdom and things like that. Just a smart lady. And, like I said, it was really good to see her today. So, just family's great. We all have it. We wouldn't be who we are and where we are without them. And, so it's a big part of it. It's a bit tough, obviously, in being a coach, being the spouses of a coach, because you miss a lot of things, and time that you can't get back, so there is regret, but I think people know your heart, and I think that they know that this is something that I'm passionate about doing. And again, it's kind of hard to argue. I tell my kids all the time, like I say to you, Mike, this is what God has blessed your daddy to be able to do, to provide for you guys, and and obviously just something that I think I do a pretty decent job. I've got a lot of work to do to improve and get better as a coach, but I think I do a pretty decent job. And the reason why I think I do a pretty decent job is that I pay so much attention to it, and I'm so passionate about it, and just want to be the best that I can be, and want to be able to share my experiences in the game, with everyone. So it's just an exciting thing. Some things just they really get you going, you know what I mean? And, I've had opportunities to do other things in life, but this is the one thing that really, really, makes me feel like I'm having a big impact out in society and things of that nature. So, again, family's been great, and, appreciate their support and their understanding, too, because I'm not around as much as I need to be for my children. So.
Well, I tell you what, Coach, as you keep waking up each day, and I don't see 12 and 13-year-olds anymore. Thank goodness for that one. Not that it was a bad thing, right. But I'm past that stage. Right. But you'll be amazed at what and how children interpret things. Mm-hmm. And as my children have gotten older, I find them thanking me more. Mm-hmm. When you're feeling bad, man, I'm on this road, because a lot of people, they say, man, you get to travel and you get to go. Well, you're in a strange place, mm-hmm. For 1 or 2 nights, okay, that it's a work. It's not like I'm going sightseeing, right. This, that, and the other. Mm-hmm. But as your children begin to understand life, mm-hmm. they'll come and pat you on the back. Thanks, old man.
Right.
They hadn't started calling you old man
Not
yet.
Not
yeah, but
yet.
See, thanks, old man, and mm-hmm. thanks, Pop,
mm-hmm.
For what you do.
Right.
So stay grounded. Every opportunity you get, embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
You, as they say, embrace the river mm-hmm. for where it will lead you. Mm-hmm. And embracing the river, you go with the flow. Mm-hmm. Okay? This is a hard career that you're in. Mm-hmm. In a moment's notice, mm-hmm. you can be packed up, mm-hmm. relocated. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can say thanks, but no thanks. We're going in another direction.
Absolutely.
So some people say, well, why would you walk into a situation like that mm-hmm. when it's something that you love? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You don't look at that. We know that day will come right. sooner or later. Right. We always hope for later. Yes. And you want to leave on your own terms, mm-hmm. but that's the thrill. Mm-hmm. of doing this. That's the thrill of athletics. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think about, well, how many games have you won and lost over your career? Mm-hmm. But when you're dealing with 15, 13 young men, mm-hmm. and every man that graduates with a degree in his hand from whatever institution you're coaching at, in this case right now, Prairie View A&M University. Mm-hmm. Not that anything is happening, I'm just saying, because you're in this for the long haul. Mm-hmm. Imagine this, for every one kid that graduates equals 10 wins mm-hmm. in your career tally. Mm-hmm. That's how awesome and impactful of what coaching and athletics are. Mm-hmm. You have anniversaries that nobody else could ever remember, but the guys that were on this squad, that they get together, and people make fun of the 1972 Dolphins. If you've never been on a team, number one, and then you've never been on a team that went perfection,
undefeated.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's silly to you, but you don't understand, because it was more than the games. It was the two-a-days. It was going through all the blood, sweat, and tears together. It was the in-house fighting that no one ever heard about or saw, but because we endured this together, we take the time to cherish those things. I want to thank you for this opportunity. Before we close out, I want you to talk to a parent right now on why they should let you coach their child.
Well, I appreciate you too, Mike, for having me, and any and every parent, that has a recruitable student athlete that we would be interested in. I think, first and foremost, as I said, countless times beating the dead horse. This is a blessing to me. This is something that God has blessed me with the ability to be able to do. I think He's given me the insight to be able to differentiate between different environments, socioeconomic situations, and things like that. Kids coming from the hood, if you will. Kids are coming from middle class situations. Kids are coming from high end situations. I think no matter what the situation is, where the kid comes from. My mother told me a long time ago. She uses this phrase. She says, "You know what? I'm like an elephant. I can sit anywhere." And I love that. I live by that. And as a coach, that's how I feel about myself. I'm like an elephant. I can sit at any table. I can be able to understand, different backgrounds and where the kid's coming from. Both parents in the household, a single parent, international kid. I've played professional basketball in 7 different countries, so I understand the international element. The kids that are coming from abroad, and coming to a foreign country, being able to get acclimated and assimilated and things of that nature. So I think I could help a kid in that environment, coming from that situation. A single parent household, which I was, a product of. I think I understand that very, very well. So, I think, and the things that I don't know, I subscribe to that theory that God gives you the increase. So I think my back is covered because this is what the good Lord has blessed me to be able to do. And obviously, education is a big part of it. That's always the foundation. Anytime you come and you make a college decision, Mike, it's not a 4-year decision; it's a 40-year decision. So I understand the importance of that. That this kid needs to be in the right situation, because what he does in that 4 years under my watch and my tutelage is going to have a great impact on the next 40 years of his life. So I understand the importance of getting that education, and having that balance, that, student athlete, student athlete. Sometimes kids forget, either way, he can be on the bad side of it as a coach, that if he's a guy that you're expecting big numbers from, he's not really producing, but he's getting his grades, he's being a good student. Or you got a kid that comes in that's not taking care of his academics, is getting you big numbers on the basketball court, then he's forgetting the student part. So those two go hand in hand. So having that balance to be able to stress the importance of going to class and getting an education, but also, upholding your agreement, and getting a scholarship and coming to play at Prairie View A&M for Coach Byron Smith, that you got to have that balance. So, and again, that old saying, Mike, I know you probably live by it as well. I like to think that, you take a kid fishing, he eats for a day. You teach a kid how to fish, he eats for a lifetime. So we're in the business of teaching life skills that are going to be able to impact, their life when they get done playing at Prairie View. So the things that they're going to learn. And again, as a coach, everyone has stories. I tend to try to stay out of harm's way. I share my experiences. I don't give advice. I don't give an opinion because that can get us into trouble. But I share my experiences. So I too have been in that position that your son has been in making this decision and having multiple options to go to school, being able to make that right choice. So I think that coming to play for Coach Byron Smith, you're going to really learn the game. You're going to learn that there's a button that you have on the inside, and a lot of people call it their second wind, but it's intestinal fortitude, being able to go further than the limit that you think that you can go. I think we can really touch that button, and just have you prepared, for life after once the ball stops bouncing, which is the most important thing. So I think we have tremendous facilities. I think we have a great educational piece in place. I think we got one of the most dynamic campuses in the state of Texas, and once you come on our campus, mom and dad, you're going to be blown away by the niceness of it. And I think we have a family environment that that we really, really, really want to take care of the kids. And I think now at Prairie View A&M, I think everybody seems to be working closer together. So it's more of a family environment, and I think it'd be a great place to come and spend those 4 years. So if little Johnny or Jimmy, will give us the opportunity to try to take one step towards us, we'll take two towards him, and make it a wonderful marriage and make it something that we all can be proud and happy that we did in the future.
Byron Smith, head basketball coach of the Prairie View A&M University Panthers. Coach, thank you so much for being a part here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. I'm Dr. Mike Prince. As always, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side.